Anthony Hudson departs. BJ Callaghan becomes the interim for the interim. The assistant to the regional manager. And we're talking about BJ Callaghan. Obviously spent a lot of time
tell us
as an
about
assistant.
You spent some time having coffee with him.
Listen, it's a conflict of interest now. I can no longer reach out to him because he's in this position of power. The assistant's role are to be much more social when you run into them in a coffee shop like I did.
But you can at least give us some context. Everybody that I know loves BJ Callaghan, loves him, thinks he's a great guy, thinks he knows the game inside and out. I don't know him as a communicator. I don't know, is he a guy that sometimes is a better assistant than he is as a head coach? I guess we're going to find out. He obviously knows he's taking this on as an interim. I can understand why Anthony Hudson wanted to leave. It was clear that he wasn't being considered. He got an opportunity the reports are maybe somewhere in the Middle East. I don't know if you've heard anything more distinct than that.
No.
But he's got to strike when the iron's hot, right? So if he's getting some interest and people want him, he probably won't have as much later on, especially after a summer transfer window when teams are trying to look ahead and look to their upcoming season. So don't begrudge the guy at all. But it must be interesting for the player pool to be like, wait, why is BJ texting me? Where's Anthony? And where's Greg? What happened with it? So it's always one thing after another.
Yeah, it seems like it
never by the Athletic. Look at these talented bastards over here.
What a guy.
I appreciate you. All right, thank you.
I think BJ's one that, like you said, has a great reputation. People love him. When I speak of his name again, when I left the coffee shop, when I ran into him, it was just a casual conversation. He didn't know me, I didn't know him until we introduced ourselves, right? I was just making conversation. And then it opened up, and then he mentioned all the people that he knew and that he'd worked with, and blah 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 blah. And I started to connect with those people and say, hey, I ran into him, and everybody spoke highly of him. So in terms of a reputation, I think people are transparent enough to know if they didn't like him, they'd just be like, oh, cool, man, tell him I said hi. But instead, people are like, dude, that guy's awesome. He's great. He's, on that side of things. That doesn't always translate into being a head coaching role. And this brings up the point that we'll get to with the U20s, with all this talk around what's going to be the MLS team that Mikey Varas gets after the U20 World Cup. And I say that because the romantic.
Did we lose Heath Pierce, everybody? If Heath froze, I'm going to take over right now. Hey, look at me. So just to finish his thought, because I kind of know where he's going. I mean, you have this opportunity as an interim coach to, like Anthony Hudson, he's going to parlay that into an opportunity. There's no guarantee that if you're an assistant now or in the interim job, that the future coach is going to take you on his staff. So you have to do what's best for you. I think there is something to be said, though, because when you're a player and you're around an assistant coach that you adore, when he gets the opportunity, even coach you in practice, if it's 7v7, whatever, you always kind of ramp up your energy to play for this particular assistant. And if he was the second assistant, that means he was probably really close to a lot of the players. He's having a lot of more, I would say, vulnerable conversations. I remember when I was with Bruce Arena on the national team, you had Bruce, you had Glenn Meyernick, and I had Kurt Anolfo. And if you had something that was, you kind of just wanted to get some insight about maybe how Bruce was thinking, I wouldn't necessarily go to Mooch, Glenn Meyernick. I would go to Kurt to maybe get a little bit more. And so you start to have a little bit more banter with that second assistant. And so when they get an opportunity to coach and to be in charge, your energy and your enthusiasm ramps up, because you don't want that person that you adore to fail. And so I wonder how the players are going to approach that, and how they're like, oh crap, BJ's our coach now, so that's going to be really interesting. And Heath is back. Great, Heath, to see you. But I was just giving some insight on when a second assistant takes over, how excited you are as a player to really play well for him, because you're so proud that he's getting this opportunity. You don't want to let him down in a way that's different than when you have a proper head coach that's there, who's he's got to make tough decisions, so he's not everybody's buddy. But the second assistant is everybody's buddy, so it's just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a good point in that. I think people feel more comfortable, right, and feel like they have a relationship. A lot of times with head coaches, there's a little bit of that wall up between both. You don't want to show your cards. You're developing that, and you don't, kind of what they say and what they mean. There's always a little bit of that.
But you're still trying to gain some insight, and the second assistant always kind of, they can give you a little bit what Bruce or Bob or whoever.
A large role generally in that sort of traditional setup would be to give you a little bit of that insight, what's the coach saying, or what are they thinking, or turn that into positive motivation for you when things are going wrong, or give you some constructive criticism to develop as a player. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know how long this. I mean, obviously he's going to get two big tournaments, and this is thrown into the fire. I think it's a huge opportunity for him. Do you think, Jimmy, that when they came to him with that, it was a little bit of do I have to do, like, do I have to? Because like,
Are
I mean,
you
I
sure?
know he's up for the task, but like, it's one of those things where it's like, you're not given a whole lot of time to
Yeah,
make this. And maybe there was things happening in the background for a while, and he's been prepping for this for a
sure.
bit. But it certainly seems like it came fast and quick.
No, and I think too, you're trying to make a good first impression with Fuller and Balogun. Like, we want this guy to think, man, this is the place I want to be, not him coming in going, I might have regretted this decision, So I'm using that as an example, but I'm sure that they've had conversations. I'm sure that Matt Crocker, Oguchi-Onyewu, right? I mean, that's his role, is to get in there and to kind of bridge that gap, give good communication, really let Balogun know. We'll use him as an example again to say, hey, this is what the plan is. Right now, we're just working through that. We have to make sure that these certain candidates are available before we can talk to them, but they've already shown some interest. And you can kind of pave and lay the foundation for what's going to come. But yeah, we're going to be hanging out with BJ for the summer, and hopefully everybody's in a good mood and ready to get after it. But it's going to be interesting to see the kind of decisions he makes and what he chooses to do. And I wonder, like, is he going to talk to Gooch about anything tactically? Like, people are usually leaning on him to like, hey, can you confirm these ideas for me? Now he's going to turn around and be like, I don't have any, but there's nobody else over to my shoulder outside of the goalkeeper coach.
Does it
feel
the
physical therapist?
Yeah. Does it feel a little bit like, maybe, do you think Anthony Hudson left on great terms? I mean, he's leaving before this massive tournament. I could get between Nations League and Gold Cup, but like, what's the opportunity that hasn't been announced that he has to leave so quickly for, that you couldn't like be like, let me get through these 2 games that are like the US's biggest games of the year right now?
That's a great question. I think that with time that will come out. But in the moment, I get the sense, or this is pure speculation, but I get the sense that he probably got told that we're actually not considering you for the job, and was probably very active in like, okay, I'm going to tell my agent or whoever that I'm going to go find something. And when something came, he probably weighed, do I want to stick around, or do I just want to go? Do I want to just get after it right away? So I think he probably needed maybe to get out of the hot seat in some capacity and really just look forward to the other opportunity. He doesn't owe us anything. So, I appreciate what he did, and it seemed like the players like playing for him. But onwards and upwards we go, and hopefully BJ can steady the ship until we get to the full-time manager.
Right. And 3 games, right? 2 wins, 1 draw. Got commitment from Balogun while he was in there. And obviously that's a group effort. It's not just one guy who's just like, convinced somebody to make that type of decision. But do you think, obviously BJ's role, do you think there was any contingencies on his future, or is it just like, this is the next thing for him? Because timing wise, same thing. If you're Hudson, you got to be thinking about like, well, if I'm not here and summer's coming, like I need to be thinking about what's best for me next, because you go and hire a coach and I'm out call it August. I'm in a tough spot.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, because if you go get
do you think
somebody,
it's a tryout? Do you think it's a tryout for him, for BJ, or like a head coaching role?
I don't.
Or not for the national team, but for a head coaching role somewhere, or his next role somewhere?
Oh, that's possible. I think this is a good time to be in the shop window, and if he's ever been in interviews and didn't get them, if he can showcase that he's capable of managing the national team in 2 significant tournaments this summer, I think you start to look at him a little bit different. And so, yeah, it's a good opportunity for him to say, I can be the top guy. I can be the leader. I can manage a whole bunch of egos. I can make good tactical changes and make subs at the right times, or I can make tweaks at halftime that show that the team's playing better. Yeah, there's a huge opportunity, and hopefully one that he doesn't pass up. So I'm excited for him. Like I said, I've heard nothing but great things, and for him to finally get this moment, even though it was, the baton's been passed a couple times before he got it. It's you and I both got opportunities with the national team because of injuries. Like if Eddie Pope hadn't got injured, Danny Califf didn't get injured, or all these other guys that I was competing with didn't have some kind of knock, then I don't know if I would have found myself having the same opportunities. And when they come, you have to take them. And I think that I did that in particular. And so obviously very proud of that.